Sport is aflame with issues. For the power brokers, it's all about money and results. But the fans know what the real burning issues are. Like in football, why is England so crap at the World Cup? Or is Zlatan really as great as Zlatan thinks? And how's this for an idea? If we put the Donald in charge of the US football team, could they win the World Cup? Our blowtorch this episode is on football, and these are the burning issues. Sport is the original reality television, unscripted drama at its best. And as we know, the biggest lunatics in the Big Brother house are always the favourites. The ones who cause all the fireworks. And in football, we love the bad boys.
Paul Gascoigne is Gaza. Gaza is at the centre of Gazamania.
Few were better and madder and badder than Paul Gaza Gascoigne. Gaz's on-field antagonisms were famous, but his off-the-clock antics were seriously something else.
Paul Gascoigne was at the centre of the slapstick as a birthday cake ended up over his face.
Gascoigne's mad alter ego appeared so often in the media, it eclipsed his outstanding talent as a player. As he said himself.
Because I think a lot of people forgot I played football for 20 years, you know. I keep bringing up when I do wrong or something like that, you know.
That's true, but we could never forget you, Gaz. Then there's Eric Cantona, the man who brought Kung Fu to the Premier League. After being sent off while playing for Man United in 1995, the French hardman was sledged by a Crystal Palace fan. Having none of it, Cantona responded with a flying kick to the fan's head. Mario Balotelli has a string of lewd, crude and rude blow-ups to get him on our bad boy list. In 2010, Balotelli even found himself on the way to prison. Only it was a women's facility, and he'd driven in there himself just to have a look around. We could also mention the bad mouths and bad attitudes of guys like John Terry and Joey Barton, and the party boys like Ronaldinho and, well, most of the Brazilians. But they all seem pretty tame next to Diego Maradona. El Pibe de Oro's freakish skills were rivaled only by his nefarious habits, and he frequently blended business with pleasure. So much pleasure, it's enough to make you snort. Although he's been clean since 2004, the Argentine legend couldn't let go of all his old ways. He got engaged to Rocio Oliva in 2014. She was 23 at the time. He was 54. With countless other examples on and off the field, Maradona gets our nod as football's maddest and baddest. Up next, the burning issue. Is Zlatan as good as Zlatan thinks? There are some well-stoked egos in football, but none burns hotter than that of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. His opinion of himself goes beyond confidence to a kind of cult-like self-worship. And at the Church of Zlatan, when pilgrims ask who's the best, he offers prophecies like, "Only God knows. You're talking to him now." Indeed, many things that come out of Ibra's mouth play like biblical verse.
I shine 24 hours, so depends how you want me to shine. But if you want me to shine even more, I will try to do it for you.
And he can be vengeful to those he deems unworthy, like certain members of the press.
And you know better football than me?
No.
So why are you talking?
His arrogance goes so far that he often refers to himself in the third person. Hilariously, when asked what he got his wife, former Swedish model Helena Seger, for her birthday, he replied, "Nothing. She already has Zlatan." But does his performance down on Earth warrant the position he's appointed himself in the heavens? Is Zlatan really as good as Zlatan thinks? Physically, he strikes the right figure. The average height of a European football player is 180 centimetres, or 5 feet 11 inches. At 6 feet 5 inches, the charismatic Zlatan towers over most. Yet despite his size, he moves with incredible agility. His Taekwondo black belt probably helps, and explains his ridiculously creative footwork and style in the air. The big man is a money-generating machine. In his long career, he traversed a raft of the continent's biggest clubs, and with each transfer came a hefty fee. Most impressively, he attracted almost 70 million euro when he moved from Inter to FC Barcelona in 2009. In July 2016, Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho lured Ibra over from Paris Saint-Germain. Even though the transfer was free, it speaks volumes that Zlatan would be hunted by such a club and such a manager at 34 years of age. It was icing on the cake of an esteemed career. Ibrahimovic won 11 league titles, 13 if you count the 2 he won with Juventus, which was stripped because of the Calciopoli scandal. He's the only player to score in the Champions League for 6 different teams, twice Ligue 1 Player of the Year, and 3 times Serie A Footballer of the Year. Ibra's expectations on himself and others instilled a dark side. His uncompromising nature earned him plenty of enemies.
The worst is when I get the red card, all the Chelsea players come around. But for me, I don't know. It felt like I had 11 babies around.
He's known for threatening opponents and even teammates, going so far as the odd fist fight during training sessions. But for all his charisma and noise, is Zlatan really as good as he thinks? His primary job was always scoring goals. When compared to contemporaries like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, both of whom far surpassed 500 career goals by age 30 and turned the Ballon d'Or podium into a 2-man exclusivity zone, Zlatan is left wanting. And can we really put him in the same strata as Pelé, the man everyone else knew as king, who was crucial in helping his country to 3 World Cup victories, the only man to ever do so? Or Maradona, who captained Argentina to its 1986 World Cup victory and took the best opponents in the world to school in the process? Sorry, Zlatan. Until you carry Sweden on your shoulders to that kind of glory, you'll always fall short. In the animal kingdom, the alpha beast has all the swagger. In the football jungle, the same rule applies.
I love you. Thank you.
When players reach the apex of the tribe, some of them, like Zlatan, really let us know about it.
I came like a king and left like a legend.
So who have the biggest struts in the game? After breaking the 100 million euro threshold and all-time transfer fee record, who could blame Paul Pogba for having a little spring in his step? But really, Paul, there's spring, and then there's ridiculous. Italian bad boy Mario Balotelli's gait is almost as big as his mouth. And just in case you didn't see him coming, the hair and ear bling are sure to make him stand out above the pack. Neymar might not be the most imposing physical presence, even with backup from the Terminator. But you can't miss the Brazilian selfie king on social media. If we're really talking about the showiest peacock in the park, though, there are none who compare to Cristiano Ronaldo. The Real Madrid star finds it near impossible to keep his shirt on. He's never one to miss an opportunity for a little extra tan on the quads. And his trademark celebration is recognizable from miles away. Even when someone else does it. Although we will remember him as one of the greatest ever, it won't be as someone who did it with decorum. When it comes to swagger, Ronaldo is king. What happens when two great forces collide? One has to give way. Unfortunately, when those two forces are the IOC and FIFA, the world game is compromised. Football and the Olympics have never managed to harmoniously cohabitate. During the so-called strictly amateur days of the Olympics, Eastern Bloc countries fudged their players' professional status so their best could dominate, while the rest of the world marched out their poor cousins every 4 years. As the great Pelé frequently reminds us.
Because I never played one Olympic game.
So they're not exactly a true representation of the game. Then in 1984, at the Coca-Cola Games in LA, the lines of the amateur restrictions began to blur. And FIFA reacted bizarrely by ruling that 3 players per country could be over the age of 23. Football is the only Olympic sport with this strange age restriction. The result is the watered-down version we see today. Olympic football being neither a junior nor an entirely senior competition. It's become so confused that in Rio, someone thought he could come over from another sport. One genuine star who was in Rio was Neymar, who carried the tournament with his patriotic fervour. But he was the exception. When the American basketball team is loaded with NBA superstars, and tennis has guys like Andy Murray winning gold, it seems a farce that football's greatest heroes are deterred. Then again, with such heavy playing schedules already, it's not like many superstars would be enticed, even if they could play. Which is why, rather than having discount bin football in the Olympics, maybe it shouldn't be there at all. Up next, the burning issue of football. Why is England always so crap at the World Cup? In case you haven't heard, when it comes to the World Cup, England sucks. It just does. Yes, there was 66, credit where it's due. Alf Ramsey's Chargers were the genuine article in their 4-2 win over West Germany, guided by Jeff Hurst's sweet, sweet boot, despite questions whether his second made it over the line. But thereafter, it's been decades of, well...
We had our chances, we just didn't make our chances.
Since 1966, England have won only 5 matches outside the group stages. 5! Since that single win, England's best result was a losing semi-final 4th place finish in 1990. They reached the quarters 4 other times, including their humiliation at the hand of Maradona in 1986. So sparse is the joy that perhaps it would have been better had England never won. It would have saved the burden of hope that it could happen again. That may sound a little pessimistic, but let's face it, the English aren't known for seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses when it comes to their international team. And therein might lie one of the major problems. See, Ramsey's attitude in the '66 campaign was uncharacteristically un-English. He was renowned for actually being positive throughout, which spread through his players and inspired them all the way to the Cup.
I think I'm positive as a person. You have to be if you're going to play. You've got to be positive as a player, and you're positive as fans.
But to say England's performance in the World Cup is only due to attitude is, of course, too simplistic. They're crap for lots of reasons. Let's have a look at some of them. English football players only know English football. Overwhelmingly, those born in the British Isles stay within the Premier League. They tell us that representing their country is the ultimate fairy tale.
Obviously, being a little boy, playing football, coming through the ranks, all you want to do is play for England and represent your country, so...
But little boys don't understand the meaning of big Premier League money. When your average mug can earn £20,000 a week playing for Stoke City, why go abroad?
But I think we've got to divorce club football and international football. You know, a player who is not having a good time with his club at the moment, either individually or collectively, has got to accept that when he comes to England, he's got to put all that aside and get his England head on, his England shirt head on, and playing for England and make that his focus.
The rest of the world moves. Players from West and East Europe, Central and South America relocate in droves to play in the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Ligue 1 and more. Sure, it's driven largely by money, but it exposes them to a range of styles and climates that assist in versatility. Whereas the English struggle more with the unfamiliar. England's greatest ever goal scorer, Wayne Rooney, for example, has managed just 1 goal in his 3 World Cup appearances combined. Former Germany captain and coach, Franz Beckenbauer, summed this up when he watched his beloved team belt England 4-1 in their 2010 round of 16 clash. They just couldn't come to terms with our style of play. Speaking of that most sorry of performances, medical research discovered that during the 2010 World Cup, English fans were 4% more likely to die from heart attack while watching the games. See? Even the NHS is screaming for more to be done. And there's the issue of youth development. For generation after generation, Brazilians have seen football as life and life as football. While children are still dribbling into their bibs, they're learning how to dribble a ball, outplaying on whatever space they can find from sunup to sundown. And it's why they rear the best in the world. UK kids are far more likely to stay indoors, spending as much time with the world game on a screen as on a pitch, missing out on the depth of skill their South American rivals build. If they do swim through all that bad weather and worse food to reach the highest level of football, though, they're greeted by more intense media scrutiny than most politicians. This constant roasting of players and their performances leaves little room to breathe, let alone play, and could have a huge impact on the lack of World Cup joy. So why is England crap at the World Cup? There is no one simple answer. All we know for sure is that they are, and it's likely to stay that way. We know England is crap at the World Cup. So do the FA, so do the players, so do the fans. Well, 99% of fans anyway. There's always a few desperately positive, delusional lionhearts who remain convinced the next time will be their time. And so for those, we dedicate this look at the fresh hopes of England. The young men who might make the difference next time. England could do with a spur at the next World Cup. In fact, 3 Spurs who first entered international ranks via Tottenham. There's Harry Kane, who made his England debut just a year after the Brazil World Cup. A powerful centre-forward feared by goalkeepers. There's the defensive midfielder Eric Dyer, who grew up in Portugal and could have played for them, which begs the question, why on earth didn't he? He could have had a Euro trophy by now. And most importantly, from the Tottenham perspective, is one of England's greatest young hopes, Dele Alli. The midfielder could have played for Nigeria, which again begs the question, why on earth didn't he? Instead, he opted to make his debut for England as a teenager in 2015. He's been a revelation at Spurs and can be one of the backbones of the new generation. Kane, Dyer and Ali were all given a taste of the World Cup by playing in Euro 2016. Too raw then, The experience should have hardened them for a crack on the biggest stage. That principle also applies to the two youngest members of the 2014 World Cup team. Raheem Sterling was 19 in Brazil and emerged as one of the few positives of England's campaign. The brilliant little city winger should be ready to step into a more prominent role. So too Manchester United defender Luke Shaw, who at 18 was the youngest player from any nation to play in the 2014 World Cup, making just one appearance. A broken leg in 2015 has set back his development terribly. And so has the impatience of United manager Jose Mourinho. But Shaw has undeniable talent and plenty of time still to fulfill his promise. Mourinho's handling of another precocious United talent, Marcus Rashford, could also impact on the striker's international career. Rashford was 18 when he earned his first cap, becoming the youngest player to score for England on debut. Then again, it was only against Australia. And last but not least on our list of the hopes of England is John Stones, whose cross from Everton to Manchester City made him the second most expensive defender in transfer history. He's considered a little accident-prone, but there's no doubting his potential. And everyone knows that what England really needs to win a World Cup is Stones. With every burning issue comes a burning question. And the answer to this one proves that all those Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United prospects in the England squad might not be a bad thing. Do you know how many of Germany's winning World Cup team in 2014 came from the same club? And which club? The answer after the break, when we'll also address another burning issue. If Donald Trump was in charge, could Team USA win a World Cup? Of the 14 players who got onto the park for Germany in the 2014 World Cup final, no less than 7 came from one club, Bayern Munich, including the captain, the goalkeeper, the striker, the star midfielder, and the match winner off the bench. The Bayern influence was the decisive factor. In 2010, in Spain's winning lineup, 6 of the final 14 were from Barcelona. Coincidentally, both Bayern Munich in 2014 and Barcelona in 2010 were managed by Pep Guardiola. So maybe that's the answer. Cram England's next World Cup team with Pep's Manchester City stars. The United States of America is a formidable foe when it comes to most sports. They've got a massive competitive population through which cream rises mighty high and near limitless resources. But when it comes to football, they're not quite the force they'd like to be. Real football, that is, not the local version that they mostly play with their hands. The US has managed only a World Cup quarter-final appearance once in the modern era, in 2002. So what would it take to get the men's team to a World Cup victory? Well, he pulled off the seemingly impossible in the 2016 election. So could Donald Trump do the same if he took over as head coach of his nation's soccer team? Of course, the first thing Coach Trump would want to work out is what's in it for him. Well, Jurgen Klinsmann's base salary per year was $2.5 million, so that seems fair. That was before tax, of course. So for the Donald, after tax, that would be $2.5 million a year. The Donald might have a hard task of it if he relied only on homegrown MLS stock. So if he could attract some prospective migrants... No, hang on. There's that America First thing, isn't there? And there's also the small problem of the next World Cup being held in Russia. Since Trump owes Putin one, it might not be wise to whoop old Vlad on his home turf. Perhaps even Trump can't save the US men's team from mediocrity. The women's team, however, George W. could coach those girls to victory, so Donald would surely fancy his chances, especially as he prides himself on the way he relates to both genders. On second thoughts, it's probably best if the Donald leaves the coaching to the professionals. After all, we wouldn't want him burdened with a job he's not qualified for, would we?